O-O-T-C. Hey, that's cool.
You got a podcast?
Well, I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Now you do.
Welcome. We are back. Oh, that's cool. OTC's very own podcast on all the amazing people we work with right here at Ozarks Technical Community College. I, of course, am Jared Durden, and with me, as always,
I'm Andrew Crocker. I'm living my best life right now. It is fall season. Summer, like a switch, was flipped, and it is automatically fall. I'm grooving in it. It's my favorite. Well, fall and spring. About yourself, how much are you loving the season?
I haven't noticed it yet. You're right, though, because as soon as you said that, I thought, oh, it is a little cooler out. Because it was so hot last week and last weekend.
Yeah, everything just feels different. Actually, this is a little tied to that. There was, did you catch Jupiter a couple nights ago? There was apparently Jupiter was closer to the planet than it's ever been in like 100 years.
I saw some pictures some friends took, but no, I didn't witness
that. That was such a great experience to at least follow on the news and follow in social media. I did not get to partake myself. I tried. I followed this astronomer, a young lady astronomer who does these fantastic 60-second videos that walks you through complex stuff. Why is Jupiter so close? Interesting. And she does this great explainer on it. And she said if you went out with binoculars that were high-powered enough, you could see like the stripes on Jupiter. And I was really excited to do that. Matter of fact, I was like, this is going to be a great dad moment. So I woke up my 7-year-old, dragged her out of bed. We're standing in the middle of the street. And I'm like, look up. What do you see? And she's like, I see a bunch of stuff. She's looking through a binocular. She's like, I see, what should I be seeing? And I was like, you should see Jupiter. Do you see Jupiter? She's like, no. And I started looking around. I was like, where is Jupiter? And I realized that I actually didn't know where to look for Jupiter. We knew it was supposed to be the brightest star in the sky, right?
But you got to still find that.
I got on Twitter in a hurry and I just tweeted at her, where should I look? I think, where should I look? And she tweeted me back within a minute. That's how awesome she is. But she tweeted me back and she said, up. When she tweeted me back, I was like, that is not it. I'm trying to deliver an amazing family moment. But I thought that was so great. I saw a bunch of the pictures online. Jupiter, beautiful planet, my favorite planet, other than the one I survive on. But that was really special. You didn't get a chance to partake in that, huh? I
did not. I did see you somewhere on social media, your discussion about that you had with your wife about planets.
I did, yes. I did not know that she had ever... I just thought it was common knowledge that every planet beyond... I think she was brushing our daughter's hair, and she was asking about Jupiter, because I kept going on and on about it. It's storms. The whole thing is storms. The red eye is a storm larger than the Earth. And she's like, so is it like raining on the ground? And I was like, Jupiter doesn't have a ground. And in our podcast form, my wife turned around and said, I didn't know that. I was like, yeah, it doesn't have any ground. It's a gas giant. You didn't know that? Everything beyond the asteroid belt. Jupiter, just in case anybody listening doesn't know, Jupiter, Saturn, and by the way, I'll let you know this, and this is exactly how I told her. Uranus is a gas giant. And she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, all right. No, that's a true fact, 100% true. And that was the 7th grade version of me. Got to come out in a brief moment, tell my wife something she didn't know that satisfied me on a juvenile level. Oh, it's Christmas.
You really killed two birds with one stone.
I did.
There, right?
I did.
So,
and on
did
that
you
note,
also see, actually one more quick one, did you see NASA did a practice run of stopping an asteroid or changing the course of an asteroid by shooting a rocket at it?
Did they confirm? I did see it. Did they confirm that it changed the direction of the asteroid?
They confirmed that they hit.
Yes, they have the video of it, which was cool.
Ooh, I don't want to speak out of turn on that because I didn't look any further into it.
Any idea?
I was assuming
we haven't had a chance to introduce Sarah yet. Any idea if they changed the direction of the asteroid?
I am behind on my planetary interstellar knowledge.
They struck the asteroid 100% square on the nose, but I don't know if they moved it. I think they may have mentioned they moved it 1%.
I didn't look at the actual numbers.
But keep in mind that was a pretty small one. I mean, if there's the dinosaur one was Texas sized, right?
Texas sized.
So what are you shooting into space to knock Texas 1% off its course?
Wyoming?
Maybe we launch our own Texas, fight fire with fire?
So our guest today, without further ado, the one and only Sarah Bargo is with us. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
What is the depth of knowledge that you bring to the table regarding gas giants?
Not as much as yours, I'm afraid.
It is absolutely bananas how much is going on beyond the asteroid belt. it's almost like some of those planets like Saturn has like 100 moons. It's just absolutely fascinating. And you think about it the way you and I look at it in a diorama that our kids make. But vast amounts of it, we talked about this with Patrick Casey, the vast amounts of it is just blank blackness, and you don't see the planet for like 1 trillion miles until eventually.
I tell you what, I recently saw, of course, on TikTok, but an awesome
Don't mess around with Astronomer TikTok. Astronomer TikTok kills
it's
it.
Really nice, yes. But it was one of those where, it starts out with a girl laying on the ground in Google, out in California.
I showed this in class.
Yes, and then it
I don't know
zooms
this.
all the way out to, well past our solar system, our galaxy, our universe, past, in showing multiple universes.
All the way to the known universe itself. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the funnest part. Is it funnest? Most fun?
It is for now, yeah.
Okay. Of that video was showing my kids.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you mean nothing, actually. Everything we do here, totally meaningless, and I'll show you why.
I thought about
fascinating.
I thought about that when I saw An Inconvenient Truth with Al Gore, because at the very end of that documentary, he shows us the furthest at that time known picture that we had of Earth, and it was from like Saturn. And you see this tiny blue, really it's
pale
a white
blue dot.
A pale blue dot. And I was like, that's it? Everything we're doing, like we're having gigantic fights over Medicaid funding and having huge fights over transcontinental corporations and voting rights, and it's all happening on a dot in the middle of the ocean. It's kind of a moment where I was like, my goodness.
The other cool thing about that video is then it goes all the way back down into her eye, and then it goes down to the smallest things in the universe.
Yeah.
And if you watch the whole sequence, you noticed what is there more than anything else in the universe is empty space, which is just this like moment, right? Because even if you look at an atomic level, it still kind of follows that same pattern as it does in the universe, where the space from the electron orbiting cloud down to the nucleus is as vast as it is from Earth to the sun, right?
So, will you take a moment, please, now that we have wrapped you into our nonsense, to tell the universe, because these, as you know, this will be projected into the universe forever.
Sure.
The alien civilizations will hear this podcast. How do you exist at this college? What do you do? What's the purview?
Yeah, happy to. So my current role is the Director of Communications and Marketing. I've been in this role about 18 months, but I have been at the college. This is my 9th year and my 5th role at the college, so I keep on just bouncing around doing different things, but that is my current role. And in this role, I do a number of things, but one of them is run college-level events. And so I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but that's one of the many things I do.
There's not really an office section of this campus that you haven't worked in for some time.
What were your first four?
I first started at the college as the Secretary for Institutional Advancement, and then I moved up to, it was the Secretary to the Director of Communications and Marketing. Then I was the Communications and Marketing Operations Specialist. Then I moved over to the Foundation, where I became the Development Coordinator, and from there I was brought on as the Director of Communications and Marketing.
That's one of the opportunities we got to work together was your time at the Foundation.
Yeah.
You've also get to share a distinction that nobody can ever take away from you. You were our first politically active guest speaker.
Correct. I recall
you
that.
Came in and you spoke. I believe the topic was very broad, is feminism. That's still when we were trying to figure out what we were doing. This day and age, if we had done a meeting like that, we would have targeted probably a little sharper. But that was a great topic. You were fantastic. I knew when you came to my office and we chatted, I was like, this is a great person to speak to. And that's kind of when we were getting it off the ground. You were a good tone setter. We built on that foundation.
I'm glad. Yeah, it was a good experience, and I'm glad to see that the organization is still going super strong. Actually, super impressive.
Over the summer, we got to see each other a little bit more than we normally would, because you have been doing, obviously you do a lot with OTC socials, and we're needing manpower that the club was very willing to supply you with. You had a bunch of cabinet members that have worked with you. How much fun has that been working with them?
They have been awesome. I will say, in all of my years at the college and my many roles, one thing I really haven't got to do a lot of is work directly with students. So to be honest with you, working with your politically active students this summer was kind of a first for me, and it was absolutely delightful. I think part of that is because you happen to have some excellent students. They're just so kind and sweet and smart and helpful and engaging. They're just kind of all the things that you want in an exemplary student and colleague. Like, they just have all of that. So it's been a real pleasure working with them.
Kara Griffin and I do search and recruit. Normally, we just find that students want to do stuff like that, but they don't know how to get involved. But with these particular folks that you've been dealing with, they are self-selected.
Yeah.
They are the way that they are, and in our club because of their character. And one of them is now an ambassador, Stevie Berry.
Mm-hmm.
I think just about anybody who has looked at any of OTC's anything has seen Stevie Berry.
Yeah.
And so it's not super surprising that she'll drop everything and help you out.
Yeah.
But I think what is at least surprising to me was that almost all those students were willing to do stuff with you and help the school out and just be cute on social media
Right.
and hang out and do goofy stuff and get fun tours of PMC when it was still in hard hat mode.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think that it's been surprising and so nice is that, working with them this summer, I don't think any of them were really taking classes here. They didn't really have an incentive to be here to help me.
That's
it was
right.
just volunteering of their own will because they simply just wanted to. And and it's the best kind of engagement to have when you don't have to force it,
That's right.
So yeah, they were just awesome. I will work with them anytime. Build good relationships with them.
And we've had conversations with, Vicki McDonald actually not that long ago. And she has lamented this a little bit because the ambassadors are employees and they work with her. And sometimes she will talk a little enviously of the club. And she's like, how come these guys will come out of the woodwork and do anything? Well, that's because, again, they didn't apply for anything. This was self-selected. They were like, I want to be hyperactive. Can you give me an opportunity to be hyperactive? And thanks to you and other people on campus, you know who you are listening to me right now, we've been able to do that, allow them to be hyperactive. She is hiring them in a much more formal, contained type thing. And I don't know how you fix that for her. But I do know that at least the way that these kids have self-selected themselves, and I know they're not kids, to us.
Yeah, sure.
They are kids. Please forgive me if you hear this. We have a couple non-traditionals too.
Yeah.
But, the way that they just will volunteer and just they want to enhance their college experience. They don't want to be passive receptors of what we offer them. They want to create the things that their peers can receive.
Yeah.
And as you said before, aside from their work ethic, the fact that they are so open and kind and inclusive.
Totally.
And they are the people, not just them, but students in general, turn out to these dances we've had a couple times in droves to dance and have a great time with each other. I think to myself over and over again, I'm just so glad that we can give this to them.
Yeah.
Because
And I think these students, for me personally, have done a lot to smash stereotypes of what I kind of thought the typical 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old was. I think, we hear and we see things all the time because we're inundated with social media and other things about, the work ethic of this generation. And
kids these days.
Yeah, kids these days. I mean, they've been saying that for decades.
They said it about us, yeah.
Right. But anyways, again, because it was my first experience really working with students on that level, it was really nice to kind of blast some of those stereotypes that exist because they do not live up to that at all. I think I expressed to you that feeling very hopeful about the future with these kids.
I always, and I'm so sorry, Jared, I'll shut up here in a second, but I am always, even now, having done this for a decade and a half, even now, I am always, the stereotypes that you and I have come up with of this generation just won't go away easily. And I think to myself, what if they just don't like, what if they don't care, what if there's no engagement? But every time you give them an opportunity, they turn out way better than you thought, and oftentimes will take the reins themselves if they can and steer things better than you anticipated.
Yeah, been a great experience. So
one of the questions that we like to ask is to get to know you better.
yeah,
I love your rhythms.
that was a great transition.
I know. I love your rhythms. He is. You can always hear Jared always takes a moment to collect and then come back out. It is so therapeutic. It's great.
Well, thank you. I think that's a compliment.
No, it is. Your rhythms are amusing to me.
Well, I'm working with your rhythms, which aren't as syncopated always, but I don't want to discourage you from
No, sir.
the tangents.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Because they're really great tangents, and especially when you're talking about students. So I'll see if I can do that beat again.
Okay.
So one of the questions.
That's so good.
This is why we work well together, right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions we like to ask, just to get to know our guests better, is who is someone that you look up to, someone that you are inspired by, someone that you'd like to share with our listeners?
First person that comes to mind is someone that nobody knows, and that's my mother. So my mother was a great example for me for my entire life. She passed in 2019, so She's not with us anymore, but I find that in her absence, I've learned a lot about myself. And I've learned a lot about her and what she would want for me and that sort of thing. So yeah, she was just a huge influence on me, specifically as it relates to being involved in your community. You don't sit on the sidelines for anything. You see somebody that needs help. You don't wave your hand and say, look over here at somebody who needs help. You go and you help. So she definitely taught me a lot about how to be an active participant in my community, an active participant in trying to make change happen. And so I feel like a lot of the opportunities and experiences that I have taken advantage of in my life, it's because she has pushed me to do so. And so now, even in her absence, she's still influencing me, kind of the little bird that sits on your shoulder chirping every now and then, do this, do that. So, so she would definitely be my biggest influence for sure. So.
I do want to say, first of all, of course, you and I know each other, have known each other pretty well for years now. And just knowing you the way I have and following you on social media and in person and such, how your mother you are a frequent reminder of the friends in your world, of the people in your world that she existed and what she did. And it just reminds me a little bit of the Millers, Kelly Miller especially, but also Mark Miller. I used to work at 911. And when I worked there, gosh, my boss, Chris Inman, such a beautiful, wonderful man, still works there, now runs it. And his brother died under tragic circumstances. And he took a few days off, and he came back to the office. And he stressed to me in a conversation we're having at basically the water cooler, he's like, listen, I just got to come back to work. The sooner things get back to normal, the better it is, and whatever. And, different strokes for different folks, Sarah. But one thing that the Millers have done with their hashtag Live Like Luke, and something that you do proactively, personally in your life regarding your mother, is back to normal. No, we are going to be informed by what this person brought to the table.
Totally.
And we are going to be inspired by it in the instances of Luke, and we are going to hold it up as a threshold to meet in the instance of your mom. And I've been pretty lucky. I have not dealt with a lot of premature death in my life. Grandparents when they were elderly, but not really a ton. And so, who knows when that bell rings how I'll react? But I do find that particular reaction particularly beautiful, even though I know it's not perfect. It doesn't work for everybody. But yeah.
Well, I've definitely learned grief is different for everybody. But for me personally, trying to kind of turn that into, okay, how can I use this to be inspired? And again, just trying to make my mom proud. It's really what it comes down to. Even if she's not here, still want to make her proud. So
Well, you have actually had an impact in our community. Was it when she was alive and that you were serving in your role as, would you like to speak to that for a moment?
Sure. So when my mother was alive, I did do a lot in the community, specifically as it relates to feminist causes, women's rights issues and that sort of thing. But the year that she passed away, I was actually, I was on the board for Me Too Springfield, which is a local organization here. And through my work there, I was asked to serve on the City of Springfield Sexual Assault Task Force. So they put together a task force. We worked for about a year trying to develop different ways and means and ideas for how the city could be better responsive to the needs of victims in our community. And anyway, so I got to do that and make a little bit of an impact there. And those are definitely things that were inspired by her, pushing me to be a leader in my community. You don't sit on the sidelines, you take charge, And so part of my personality is just get in there and start running the show. And that's a flaw sometimes too, but
it definitely has served you well with the foundation, served you well in your current role. Outside of your current role, as I assume, at least diplomatically, if not accurately, you would say it's been your favorite role. But is there a role outside of the one you're currently in that you spent some time doing here at OTC? Because few people have been around the college as much as you. That you would say, man, that was a nice window of time.
I don't know that I could think of one in particular. I mean, I really honestly can say that I have enjoyed all of my time at the college and the various roles that I have played. I think being a part of the communications and marketing team for as long as I have, even though I left for a little bit and came back, it's just a particularly fun place to be because we kind of have our finger on the pulse of everything that's going on around here. Just by nature of the work we do, we have to market it and promote it. And so we tend to kind of know a lot of the news before other people do and that sort of thing. And we get to go to all the fun events and We get to do the social media and all the things that people might typically think are more fun. A lot of times fall under communications and marketing. So it's been a blessing to get to start out in that department and then get to stay there because now I have access to all the fun things.
And it seems to be there's been a lot of transitions too, or at least kind of a rethinking about how the presence of OTC on social media. What's some of the new things? Where are all the places that OTC exists in social media that people could be following, that people would be interested in
Sure,
seeing?
happy to share. Of course, there's always Facebook. Everyone thinks that Facebook is dying among younger folks, and it's just not borne out in the data. They're still there.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Young folks are still engaged in Facebook.
Well, engaged is a key word. Young folks are on Facebook. They're not there to socialize with their peers.
Gotcha.
They are there because primarily it's a search engine.
Oh, gotcha.
When you want to know information about a company, nobody goes to their website anymore. What's their, how active are they on Facebook and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So students are definitely going there for information. They're not going there to talk to their friends.
So
Okay.
Facebook is the yellow pages of the new generation.
That's one way to put it. But Facebook is great for our purposes because that's where we also communicate with parents, influencers, community stakeholders, legislators, kind of all of the other folks that are important to our college community. So Facebook is where we do have a lot of people, but we're in lots of other places too. So most of our students are engaged, if we want to go with that word, on places like Instagram. So of course we are on Instagram, one thing. Then of course we are also on TikTok, and so that's something that we have actually invested a lot of time and resources into this year. And again, thanks to the students that Andrew referenced earlier, that has made my job a little bit easier and certainly more fun working with them.
Yeah.
But we're also on places like LinkedIn, and we're on Twitter. And thanks to OTC Esports, we have a Twitch and a Discord.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's an OTC Reddit thread out there somewhere. Yes. So yeah, we're subreddit. I'm not a Reddit user, so I don't know the lingo. But I know that there's one out there that I think Tiffany Ford manages. So, but yeah, we're in a lot of places now. There are a lot of places we're not at, but we try to make sure that we're focusing our time and our resources on those places where we can reach the most students. And so we kind of stick with those 5, 6, 7, if you will.
I had a couple years ago, we had a meeting about where our club should extend onto social media, because we were already on Facebook, but we kind of felt that maybe we should have a multi. And a couple people were like, "You should have one on Snapchat," is what they said. And I was like, first of all, I don't know how Snapchat works.
Yeah.
Second of all, if we did that, how many of your friends are even on Snapchat? And every single person in the club said 100%.
Yeah.
100% of them.
But here's the thing about Snapchat. So we do have an OTC Snapchat that we don't use anymore because, again, according to the data, students, 100% of them are there, absolutely. But they are not there to follow brands.
Sure.
They are there because it's a messaging app, basically, for them. So they're all on it. But we don't really have a place in that space because that's not really what they're there to use it for.
I always feel that way about Twitter, because Twitter at its best, which is increasingly rare, but Twitter at its best is a conversation between adults talking about whatever happens to interest them, and when like companies and institutions enter the conversation and crash the party, it is kind of lame.
Yeah, and I think for us, on Twitter, and this is for a lot of people locally, the Midwest, we're just behind. I mean, when it comes to all the platforms, we have fewer folks on Twitter, we have fewer folks on TikTok than, of course, if you go to the coast, that's different. So we are just a little bit behind. But Twitter, really, we're not meeting a lot of students there because we don't have a ton of students in that space, but that's where we're really able to talk to community members. We have a lot of community influencers and leadership within the community, and that's where they're all at, is on Twitter. And so that's really a place for us to be able to share the story with those stakeholders, with those voters. And then, especially as we're thinking about, how we're trying to do a little bit more emphasis on the workforce, that's where a lot of our workforce people are at, people that own businesses and are, writing for the SBJ, kind of all those folks are there. And so that is, we try to tailor to every social media platform, we tailor it to our audience. And so really on Twitter, that's a place where we're not necessarily speaking directly to students, but definitely speaking to people that have a vested interest in the college and the future of our students.
And don't forget, That's Cool's on Twitter.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
One of the places you can find us.
Yes, you are right.
So am I correct? Your office brings about you have a dream, we have a plan.
Yeah,
Those
that was our office. Yes.
Is it? What do we call that? Our slogan, messaging,
Tagline.
tagline.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's probably called a number of things, but we refer to it as a tagline. So previously, we were using Start Here, Go Anywhere. Used that for several years, and that actually is a super common tagline for lots of colleges, and also other brands like Arby's. Arby's started using Start Here, Go Anywhere.
How?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask
Start
me.
here.
Yes.
What is the implications there?
I don't know.
Go anywhere.
Yes, they started using it a couple of years ago.
Sorry, go ahead.
So anyways, we several years ago we were kind of moving into some different branding, and so that was.
Have we ever considered changing the OTC slogan to "We have the beef"
no,
or "We
no.
have the meat"? I forget what they said.
No, it was. Who used to do "Where's the Beef"? Was that?
That was
Arby's? That wasn't Arby's.
That was Wendy's.
No,
Was it? Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
That was like 80s.
Yeah, that was. But no, you have a dream, we have a plan. I love it because I think it speaks to more than just something kind of like pie in the sky, inspirational. It's like, hey, you've got an idea. Let us help you get there. We are going to help you get there. It feels a little bit more concrete. So that's been our tagline for the last few years, and it will remain for the next few. So.
Okay. Don't take any tagline ideas from Jared. Initially, early on in this podcast,
I'm not the one that said, "Where's the beef?"
early in this podcast, I think episode 1 or 2 with Dr. Vivian Elder, he had suggested that our slogan was "Thinking in Friendship." That's fine, I guess. I like those two things. But that is a lousy slogan.
I think I said theme, not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thinking in friendship.
So, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure.
Our show needs a tagline. What's our tagline?
Ooh, that's good.
Gosh, I don't know. I would have to put some
Putting you on
thought
the
into
spot.
it. That's cool. And that's an OTC acronym that
Yeah.
we're using, right?
That's right.
Yeah, who doesn't make up good names for
Okay,
things?
that's fair enough.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll get back to us on Twitter.
Okay,
Maybe
I can do
tagline.
that.
Maybe you wanna
And I'll
work with-
send you the bill too. So
Can't be creative for free. You're making me be creative for
We're
free.
advertising partner.
I'm going
Yeah,
to
there we go,
freelance
there we
for
go.
you.
Yeah. No, I'd happy to put some thought into that for you.
So, is there anything on the horizon, or?
Yeah, lots on the horizon, always at OTC, right? So one of the things that we do in my department, other than just billboards and commercials and social media and all that, is we have our hand in a lot of the events at the college. So I personally run big things like commencement. I run the innovation celebration. I am pretty much running College Development Day. And I say I run, but I really mean I run with a group of people. I have great teams of people that help me, but ultimately it's on me to execute those things. And all of those things require usually quite a bit from my help. We need photos, we need video, we need graphics. So we do a lot of events. And of course, our big one we've got coming up next week is for employees only at Development Day. But Development Day is also the kickoff for the Innovation Celebration season. And so Innovation Celebration, of course, is an event that we have here at the college that is in February. But that's really kind of the grand finale, if you will. There's a lot of things that lead up to that event. And the kickoff for all of those things is next week.
It was next week. And I always see you at commencement and you have a little headset on. I think of Jennifer Lopez in The Wedding Planner, where you're like, 3, 2, 1. Lights and stuff. Like, I always get that vibe from you when you're
it's a high pressure day for sure, but it's also my favorite day of the year. I've learned one thing about myself, and that is I really enjoy the pressure. And so I think if I didn't enjoy it, I don't know that I could continue to do all that, because it is a lot on that day. Everything kind of on yours and your volunteer shoulders, if you will. But yeah, the pressure is good. I kind of like it.
So let's up the pressure.
Yeah.
Gumby versus Mr. Ed, battle to the death. Who wins?
I'm going to
And
have to
why?
say Mr. Ed,
Why?
because I didn't watch either show. And so from the limited knowledge that I have, it seems like a horse would do a better job with all its teeth and hooves at taking out a little gummy creature, right? So that's my very simplistic way of thinking. Like, I see the horse just like biting the green guy.
What exactly is your understanding of Gumby?
I don't know. He's like isn't he a green man?
You have
A
selected
floppy
the correct
green
color.
man?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you felt he
Would you
was
call
more
him a man?
fun, would that influence you?
Yeah, I
in
know.
any way?
I just got done accosting Callie for introducing irrelevant evidence, and I don't know how much fun either side would have, but
Not a man, a humanoid.
Well, I like to say that the reason why I can't answer this question is because I am very young. Okay, like that is.
Okay, wait a minute here.
That is just before my time.
You use Snapchat for messaging, not for branding.
That's right.
Sarah Bargo uses Facebook exclusively to look up companies and does not comment.
It's the yellow pages of this
There
channel.
you
Oh
go,
my
there
gosh.
you go.
I was feeling pretty good there for a moment thinking that younger folks were using the same social stuff I was doing. No, they were using it as yellow pages.
Yeah, they're
And I'm
using it,
to
but not like
express
you
myself.
use it. Yeah, they're not sharing their photos of this
Yeah.
or that. So,
Yeah, gotcha.
I essentially use it as a photo album. Like
Yeah.
I keep everything there. You know what I mean?
So can we agree that her testimony should be disqualified on the basis that she just doesn't have working knowledge of either of these characters?
You can't take it personally every time someone doesn't vote for
I
him.
don't. I'm not. It's not that I take it personally. I'm just a stickler for making sure that we have expert
There
witnesses.
are rules.
we need to come up with better characters.
When
Like-
we had Oganyemi, who did not know who either of those characters were, we had used, and maybe we should update it to Elastigirl. It's kind of Gumby. Elastigirl from The Incredibles.
Oh yeah, see, that was
Versus
after my time. I need something in that sweet spot.
Versus BoJack Horseman.
I'm thinking like E.T. versus Care Bears.
Okay, so I like this ET versus Care Bears. So my plan going forward is we're going to make T-shirts for the podcast, have Gumby versus Ed on them, versus Mr. Ed on them, and then sell 2 different T-shirts. One where Mr. Ed wins, one where Gumby wins. So people ultimately can bring this to a close, can vote with their dollars. All that money goes to support our OTC podcast club.
Did it ever occur to you?
And then we move on to a new set of people.
Did it ever occur to you to change up the characters
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
I
every
saw-
year.
every time, every new guest? How-
We could.
'cause what- to what
I like a little bit of the community building process of everybody kind of weighs in on it.
Although I
So
know that was off the top of her head, so I don't want to judge her too harshly. But
I've been asking this question
the-
since like high school.
the Care Bears
Well, here's what's better.
have distance. They have distance weaponry. with their tummies.
What about E.T. versus Alf? Both aliens,
Both
brown.
both not necessarily athletic.
We can
Not
establish.
necessarily.
We can establish that Alf's teeth are sharp enough to eat a cat.
Right. And Alf can speak pretty good English.
Yeah.
Which puts him in the Mr. Ed to E.T.'s Gumby.
Okay.
Okay.
That could be a good, decent matchup.
Well, I don't understand why you guys because you're not the first person to focus in on English. Why do you think the ability to speak would affect the battle?
I don't know. I think sometimes when I go to battle, it's with words.
I think as the only species that speaks or uses language in the way humans do, we seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will say I would go to battle with you anyways, Sarah. I think on probably any way you and I could fight, you'd probably best me. But we need to have a society-wide reckoning with the fact that we are obsessed over the speaking aspect of a battle.
I think that is a fair point.
Yeah.
I think we do need to eventually move on from these characters because you are just too invested.
I know.
So we will decide it once and for all.
It does. It affects the degree of respect that I have for our guests when they don't fully consider. I really cared and liked Callie Holden, but kind of.
Not anymore.
I will say I am on the fence. She will have to win me back.
I was in a meeting this morning, and we started off by saying you had to answer Halloween, love it or leave it, and people's opinions of other people you could tell changed.
Who says leave it to
We're
Halloween?
not going to get into that.
All
I'm
right.
just saying it. You could tell like it had an effect. Once you knew that about someone, it was like, oh,
I've heard people on the news bemoan Halloween, and it's just belly aching. Forget that stuff. I'm
So-
incapable. Every time you bring up a choice, I'm incapable of just objectively listening to the options. Every time I'm like, well, my brain says they're asking you, go.
So we brought you on to kind of celebrate the innovation celebration that's coming up, and to make sure everybody was kind of aware that it's getting that season's kicking off. But also to get a better understanding of it. So we see a lot of, we've seen people win, we've seen people present, we've seen kind of the advertising for it. What is the innovation celebration? What's the purpose? How did it start? And why is it so important to the college?
Yeah, be happy to talk
I'm
about
very
that.
interested in the origin story behind it.
Well, I could tell you. So the origin story originally, what the whole purpose of the event was to try to focus on the strategic plan and to make the plan more accessible to people. So if you guys have spent any time looking at the strategic plan, sometimes it can get a little wordy and it's hard to make practical sense out of some of those things sometimes. And so to really try to get the whole college community invested in that kind of forward moving into the plan, trying to come up with ways that we can be talking about it in different ways. And so that's kind of how the start of it came to be. It's evolved a little bit since then because we certainly use it to talk about the strategic plan, but we also use it as a venue to lift up our colleagues that have been doing great things around the college. And this year in particular, we're really kind of focusing the event and the things that lead up to the event around our OTC Cares culture. So as you guys know, OTC Cares culture is something that has really been a part of the way we operate for quite some time, but we've really kind of formalized that in the last year or so. And we think it's becoming a little bit more familiar to people. Of course, we talk about these 4 pillars for the OTC Cares framework. And so this year we are trying to kind of lean into that a little bit more. And so we're asking that when people submit ideas for their grants, they kind of talk about the ways that their grant proposal could affect our OTC Cares culture in a positive way. And so to kind of step back a little bit from what does that mean in practical terms? And really it comes down to how do we solicit ideas from all across the college, not just those in leadership positions, but all across the college at every level. How do we solicit ideas from them to help impact the student experience in a positive way? A lot of times things and decisions happen at this institution and elsewhere, top down. And this was an opportunity to really invest in our people and invest in their ideas and their creativity and how everybody's got ideas. Everybody has them. I've never ran into anybody at the college that hasn't had some kind of idea for how to improve something. But then taking that next step, to apply for a grant is sometimes a little bit daunting. But we've tried really, really hard to make our process very easy so that you can win some money at the Innovation Celebration to bring an idea to life that helps kind of improve the student experience.
I'll tell you one thing that's very common at probably any office you can work at is a bunch of people in their leisure time saying, this place, if they had their heads screwed on straight, they do this or that instead, or try this or that. And this just, I think, deflates that balloon. It gives people an opportunity to be, if you think that's such a great idea,
right,
then we have a path for you to potentially achieve it. That, as we've talked about on previous episodes, is decentralized. I can come up with an idea for a grant that the board, OTC's board, did not think of or has no idea that I've come up with it.
Sure.
Talk to somebody such as Callie Holden. She helps me sculpt it. I submit it, and then it goes in front of the faculty for a vote. And at no point was the leadership steering that.
Yeah.
It is a decentralized idea, and one of the ways that I've really sang its praises on several episodes now. I'm just stunned that it's something we get to do. I think people, at several years old now, I think people take it for granted that it's done.
Yeah. This is our 2023 will be our 4th innovation celebration. This is our 4th year, but technically we've had to go virtual the last 2 years. So this will be really the first time that we get to do it with the way that we intended to originally. Of course, year 1 we got to do it in person, and that was fantastic. And so we're excited to kind of get back into that, all being in the same room and voting together. I mean, there was, if you guys were there at that, you were there. I know you were there.
Yeah.
You were there. It was just a really cool experience. It was unlike other events and experiences that I've had at the college before. There's something about it kind of being organic and coming from the ground up, and we're lifting up each other instead of just another award from the top or something that I think people really, really responded to, and that's, I think, one of the big reasons why we keep doing it is because it like you said, it gives people an avenue, but also it's just really fun. It's a fun thing to participate in.
It's just one thing to work at a place like 99% of offices and say, I just don't understand. why don't they give them free breakfast? They're students. Why don't they give them free breakfast? And there you have Dr. Barrett and a few other folks coming down the mountainside saying this would be a great idea. And even though it didn't get voted for, it still got funded.
Yeah.
And now,
Which has happened quite a few times.
correct.
Yeah, with you as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how that isn't something more institutions adapt, because it is ingenious.
Yeah.
That and this goes back to a previous episode we had with Jennifer Dunkel, that giving them free food is not an academic thing to do,
Right.
but it aids every part of the academic experience.
Right. And again, on something like that, the nice thing, bringing it back to the OTC Cares framework, one of those pillars is data informed, right? Yeah. And so the fantastic thing about Eagle Breakfast is not only was it just a great idea, but now we have all this data that shows, yes, it really was a great idea, because now we can demonstrate the academic impact for these students when they have that. So, yes, I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's something that I bring up to people all the time when I'm trying to encourage folks to apply, and that is that, yes, it's great to win, but there is a lot of value in just getting up on that stage in front of a room of 650 of your colleagues.
Yeah.
So even not winning, whether it's Eagle Breakfast or I forget what you called it, but the booth that you did in the library, what was that called?
It is called the
Instructional Media Studio?
Yes.
the Jared Durden Memorial Instructional Media Studio.
Yeah, but that was
We're
something
overdue
I think you,
for that plaque. We need to add that.
but that was you year one, right? Proposing
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
And so even before you hit the stage, it was meaningful because of all the people I ended up working with along that path
Sure.
that I hadn't met before, that it made me feel more integrated in the college. It gave me a lot more confidence going forward to do things like join OTC leadership, to start this up, right? To just be involved and see that, sometimes we need permission, and I think it gives that permission.
I love hearing that. I haven't really heard anything like that as being an effect that it has had on you, and that's a great effect.
The moment was horrifying, by the way, because I think
In what way?
I've said this
horrifying?
before. I didn't know it was in front of the entire college.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow-
year one, nobody knew anything.
Year one, somehow I got into my head like, I'm going to go to a board meeting and present this, and so I practiced and all that, and then we do a practice run, and everybody was there, including the host Robert Griffith and all, and so we did all that, and it kind of clicked when we were in that giant room. I was like, wait a minute, this is just the bacon breakfast, like everybody's going to be here. And then of course you go up on stage. I think I quipped that it wasn't like Shark Tank, it was like Piranha Pool, because it was just this huge sea of people.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit intimidating. Bring up friends. The next time I did it, I was with a group, and I would definitely encourage
next
people
time
to
team up
get
with a
others involved.
next time team up with a public speaking instructor.
There you
That's,
go.
and that's always something I brag about working here to other people, is that there is when I'm confused about something, there is a subject matter expert a phone call away. I don't know what the God particle is that they found, but I can call
boson?
I can call Jared. Jared can explain it to me like I'm a 101 student. So that's a little thing that I like to do, and that's one of the reasons why I really liked Leadership OTC. It's why I like serving on committees. It's why I like have as Sarah's described a few times, just the opportunity to work with people outside your department.
Faculty Senate.
Correct. And you're like, wow, these people have they work at a college. They teach. They have very, gregarious personalities. Many of them are super interested in trying new things, interested in what you have to speak. You can't out nerd them. I've tried. You can't. And so it's just a very valuable, it's a great marriage of a population of people who are willing to be open to new things. And of course, a great idea that Sarah's describing here, where we get to give them actual avenues for it.
So what was the genesis in terms of where were you, what room?
I do remember.
What sparked the fire?
Well, the fire, like I said, it was sparked with a meeting with research. So we were actually in the Creative Services building several years ago, and research had set a meeting with our team to talk about, like I said, how can we be talking about the strategic plan in a more meaningful, more accessible way with people? And it was just a little brainstorming meeting, and there planted the seed. I was like, hey, what about we do this event? And I was like, yeah, maybe let's put some more thought into that. And so next thing I knew, I was writing a proposal out on paper and presenting it to Dr. Higdon, and got the green light, and the rest is history.
So what at the upcoming celebration? What are the parameters we're looking at? How many grants are available?
Yeah. Happy to talk about that. So we again have kind of 3 sections, if you will, or 3 parts to this event. The first one is the Game Changer Grants, and that's the most exciting one. We again are giving out 3 $10,000 grants, up to $10,000. We've had a couple of folks write a proposal or two where they don't even need the full $10,000, but up to $10,000 for each of those Game Changer grants. And those, as we mentioned earlier, are voted on live at the event by the folks in the room, and they get their big check right there on the stage live. So that's the first part. The second part is the Student Success Mini Grants. Those are awarded at the event, but they are not voted on by colleagues. So those are actually chosen by, I think it's the grants department, and Callie and Abby Ray and those folks choose which of those. And if I recall correctly, we usually try to give out 5 or up to 5 a year, and those are $1,000 a piece. So usually smaller projects, but still often pretty impactful. And then the third part is the Trailblazer Awards. And so the Trailblazer Awards are given out to folks at the college who have really contributed in a meaningful way to advance the strategic plan, or if we can demonstrate that they're using kind of the OTC Cares decision-making model in their work, that sort of thing. And so what we will do is, starting next week, we will open up the Trailblazer nomination form and just ask people to nominate a colleague, someone that you feel has been really impactful to the institution in one of those ways. And then we open those votes up to our college community as well in January. And so at the event in February is when we award 3 staff members and 3 faculty members with Trailblazer Awards to recognize their contributions to the.
One of my favorite things to do every year is to nominate. I really like nominating students for honors college and PTK. Love doing that. And I really love honoring coworkers of mine for those opportunities, because, I mean, this is another example of trying to, reach into the hive mind of the campus. There's so many instructors.
Yeah.
And probably staff too. You're more privy to that than me, but there's so many instructors doing so many clever, brilliant, fun ideas.
Right.
And
we need people to share that.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we celebrate that is when we know. And so this is a great opportunity. Again, even if you don't win an award, you have now all of these wonderful things that you've said about a colleague of yours. All of leadership is reading, and you're informing, you're informing everybody. So even if they don't win, again, there's value in just making the nomination.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the 3 main goals that we have of the event, is to award people in those categories. And then, of course, we try to have a little fun as well. As you mentioned, Dr. Griffith is usually the MC, and he brings his own style of humor to the event.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yes. It's usually very fun, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback from colleagues that they really enjoy the event.
So we've been doing challenges each week that we've presented to get people to engage and to meet people that maybe they haven't in our community. And one that I'd been working on, I had a conversation with Amy Bacon about I keep calling it the bacon breakfast. What do we
Everybody
actually
calls it College Development Day. College
Development Days that I think we're going to get to try this year. One of the things I noticed at that first innovation celebration that kind of struck me that maybe everybody's kind of aware of, but when you're on stage, you really notice it, is that we were completely separated by division. So if I look to the left, I saw faculty. If I look to the center, I saw administration. If I look to the right, I saw staff. And it just clearly divided. And I think that
happened totally organically.
And I think it happens at the development days as well. I don't want to force anybody. I want to challenge. Switch seats with someone. Sit on the other side of the room. Don't sit with the people you normally sit with. And everybody be really cautious and conscientious about, if you see that happening, accepting it and being welcoming and saying hi. And
you wouldn't institute seating cards?
I am not going to institute anything at my pay grade. What I think would be cool, though, Amy and I are supposed to do this. Wherever we end up sitting, we're just going to get up and switch seats. And so if people kind of make that pact, or if we try that out, I think that would be really cool. But
I like that.
You'll be sitting next to Dr. Higdon.
She is at the Higdon table,
She's at the Higdon table. So, congratulations.
I need to talk to him about a hat.
Tuesday's your chance.
So, anyways, I think that would be fun, and you guys too. You should just try getting up and coming up to someone and be like, "Would you mind switching seats?"
Yeah, sure. I think that means that I'll be walking around with a headset on my head, like what she'll be doing. But I'm very comfortable saying, "All right, lights."
With a headset on. What?
I just always envision her like in the wedding planner.
Switch with her.
Yeah.
Always in work.
No, I didn't
mode.
mean with each other. I mean finding someone at a table and switching seats.
Gotcha.
We could.
Just
But
a
yeah,
weird
again, since that one, I'm kind of running the show on that one. I'm going to stay planted up front to put out the fires, which there will be no fires.
Of
But
course
in
not.
the event that there is a
not.
small fire, I will be there.
Okay.
So, there's been a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
We've gone through kind of your role throughout the college, the work you've done not only here at the college but in the community. We've talked about the innovation celebration, the importance of it. Have I missed anything, Andrew?
We talked about our junior astronomy desires at the very beginning.
right.
Yeah.
I still haven't got on TikTok.
You need to at least. Astronomer on TikTok is phenomenal. Astronomer on Twitter is pretty good.
OTC TikTok is pretty good too.
Yeah, there you go.
That's our
There you go.
So that's what I'm getting out of today too, right? If you haven't yet, make sure you've found OTC on all your social media.
Right.
So a ton to learn today, Andrew. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Now you do.
Hey,
Nailed it.